Thank you for inviting me. Merhaba herkese. Thank you for coming. This is going to be an interesting talk for me because this is a more applied area. I'm going to try to make it both theoretical, give some theory about it, background about it, and application, talk a little about the applications. And hopefully we will have a chance to do a quick application here as well, so you will get a taste of what do we mean by this mindfulness. More structured, formal instruction in mindfulness is, I am told that we have an hour and a half, is that right? 90 minutes. Okay, so I have my own story how I've become interested in mindfulness. Is a little interesting. I am a psychologist by training, and I'm doing my PhD studies, writing my dissertation. Is any one of you in the process of writing dissertations or preparing for dissertation research? So this is such a stressful period, and in my time I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and stress on my own. So I saw a sign for this stress reduction program, and this is during my PhD studies, and I jumped at the opportunity. I said, wow, this is great, free program, group training for stress reduction. So I went with some expectations, and that's how I met mindfulness-based stress reduction program. It's called MBSR, and I'll give you a little information about that as well. And this was the year 2007, 2008. And since then, I haven't really done a lot on it. And I've been hearing about it here and there. I thought it was a really interesting concept. But recently, there has been much more greater public interest in it. So I decided to follow up on it. So I was doing more personal investment and time on this issue as far as participating in the retreats. They have several days retreats and trainings available if you want to allocate more time on this and learn more about this technique. Make it a more like day-to-day practice. And I really find it helpful and useful. So when I talk today, I will be also talking from my personal experience. But I would like to start with some questions, make it more interactive, and kind of find out what you guys know about it already. So have you raised your hand if you have heard the mindfulness before? The word mindfulness? Can you just throw some words or concepts? What comes to your mind when I say mindfulness?
Peace.
Peace.
Living in the present moment.
Living in the present moment. Wonderful. Great. Awareness.
Being in harmony with ourselves. Being in harmony with ourselves.
Being in harmony with ourselves. Okay. Civility.
Meditation.
Meditation.
Understanding the big picture.
Understanding the big picture.
Watching our thoughts. Being aware.
Watching our thoughts.
Consciousness. Consciousness.
Cautiousness about.
Think about things. Yes.
What do you mean by cautious?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Okay. Being conscious.
Very popular.
Popular. Is mindfulness a religion like Buddhism? What do you think? There are no right or wrong answers, just wanting to hear your opinion.
We had the conversation about whether Buddhism is even...
whether Buddhism is a religion. Okay. So this is I gather this is a deep conversation already. You already had it, right?
But I mean, I think all of these practices can be mindfulness as a goal of certain practices is very common in many traditions. So I don't think it can be in itself a religion, but it's a practice. It's a goal of many religious traditions.
There are many doors opening to this room, so it's just one of the doors opening to the same room.
But I think when you mentioned what mindfulness is, it really comes to my mind tonight to be saying you're religious spirituality.
Religious spirituality.
Irreligious.
Irreligious spirituality.
Spirituality, not religion.
spiritual but not religious.
Yes,
That's the term, right?
But through mindfulness, we are more religious, I believe. Like mindfulness is in every religion.
Isn't
It has
everything? Actually, that's going to be my next question. What are the other examples of contemplative practices that you know of? So what I mean by contemplative practices, practices that exist in different religions that are training the mind to look inside, have an internal look. Yoga,
Meditation.
meditation,
Murakabe yani.
murakabe,
Watchfulness.
I think even
zikir. Is that murakabe like zikir?
Murakabe is slightly different yani. Not staring, but throwing a glance upon one's heart yani. Introspection.
Introspection, exactly. Are there any other Islamic traditions or practices that are contemplative?
I think even like the importance given to the intention or the niyyah in the Islamic tradition
Yeah.
is very, I mean, it's very much about being mindful of what we're doing at all moments. So even if you're not engaged in a religious act, it can become a good act by how you perceive it and how you focus on it.
So being mindful of the consequences of your actions on others.
Or even just why are you doing what you're doing? Yeah, intention.
The whirling dervishes.
Whirling dervishes.
That's shuhud.
So other traditions coming from tasawwuf. I'm thinking itikaf. Is there another word for itikaf? So it's like 10-day retreats. 10-day retreats. Zikir could be one.
Muhasebe, itkan, yaqin, shuhud. Yeah, goes on.
Okay, so moving on to my next question. What do you think the benefits of mindfulness could be? What is it good for?
What is it not good for?
Could be. Just guessing.
To lower stress.
Lower stress, from my example, exactly. It may lower stress.
You're always in control, so you don't do regretful things.
You are always in control, so you don't...
You do things, sometimes you do things that you regret, but if you're
Oh, okay,
mindful,
wow. Okay, so that's interesting. We'll come to that. So it helps us with not regretting the things we've done.
Brings illusions. Illusions.
Creates illusions.
Or dispels illusions. Does it create or dispel?
Benefit of it.
Create.
How?
I mean,
What do you
start,
mean, illusions?
thinking something that actually is not true, and thinking that you are something when actually you are not.
Okay, so I'm going to argue during my presentation that contrary to what you're saying, mindfulness is one way of helping us with the reality, helping us to see the reality of our lives. So if we have any illusions, mindfulness in its essence or philosophy is teaching us, training us to see the reality as much as we can see.
Eboja, come here, I think. We
You
cannot
had
see
some,
you.
he had some, sorry.
Well,
Sorry, one person.
if you would like to develop on the example of tasawwuf, definitely like being mindful of one's own reality, as in like being mindful of the essence of human, is a conduit to being aware of the reality of obviously the Lord and the universe.
Okay.
I was just thinking, do you mean mindfulness or mindfulness?
I guess the second one. But I haven't even started the definition yet. But the general agreement here has been so far being mindful of some things. So not your mind full of things, but being mindful of the consequences of your actions. For example, we said niyat.
Okay, so the opposite is like-mindedness.
Ignorance.
Is it like-minded?
Like-minded.
Or mind-like.
What would be the
So
opposite?
let me come to that in definition, if that's okay. I will come to a definition. I'm just like wondering what you guys think about the benefits, advantages of
Having a purpose.
having a purpose.
Doing things purposefully.
doing things purposefully. Yes, that's part of the definition, actually.
I think it's about letting go. I mean, letting go of control, kind of reducing anxiety, because we don't have to know what's going to be in the future. We don't think about the past. We're just living in the present moment.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I don't think it's only about letting go. It's also about knowing what you hold on to and then what you let go of. There is this duality. You don't just let everything go. You also need something to hold on to. And being mindful helps you kind of find this balance. Something.
So we need that balance as well. But this letting go of business we're going to talk about, and it's not easy as it sounds. I find it very difficult to explain to other people, teach other people how to do, and help them how to do it. So we psychologists don't really know much about the mechanisms of how letting go process works.
Can we relate it also to the notion of intentionality?
The notion of intentionality, yes. It may be related to the notion of, there is an intention aspect to it, intentionally being mindful. Okay, so 2 more questions. Do you think a special training is needed to practice it? And do you think is there science behind it? Science in a more modern science, positivistic science.
It's a personal experience.
It's a personal experience.
Rather than science.
It may be you think it may be outside the realm of positivistic sciences like biology, chemistry, physics. So it's a personal experience, but could it be studied by science? No.
It is.
It can, I think.
Could it be studied by science?
Yes, I think it can.
To a certain extent, I think.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, because, well, psychology and neuroscience is very inherently naturalistic, so they can only study what is in the neurons, but nothing beyond them. Like at least I believe that human is not just a concoction of neurons and chemical processes in the brain, but to a certain extent, yeah, like you can define how certain chemical activities occur in the brain when someone is mindful of his, I don't know, material surroundings. Yeah.
So if someone experiences a transcending the self type of experience during meditation, could that be shown on the brain?
Well, the chemical processes that occur at that point in the brain certainly can be shown, but what actually transpires in the human self and in the spirit, I think cannot be shown.
I think like central to that is even the idea of what is the mind, what is the self. Yeah. Can science even explain or prove those things? So if we're going to talk about mindfulness, I mean, it goes back also to the mind itself, and that's something I don't think positivism has yet proven positively, you know, or like I don't know if that makes sense.
Is there anyone here who studied modern science discipline? Positivistic sciences, biology, chemistry, psychology.
Applied science, I studied engineering.
Engineering. Okay. So as I said, there is no right or wrong answers. I'm just kind of like making it a little more interactive before we get started, just to hearing what you guys think, what you guys have already read, and it's obvious some people here already read about it or practiced it. Is there anyone who has been practicing it, this form of mindfulness, or have tried it?
Form of mindfulness.
What is this form of mindfulness? Okay, so I'll come to that. Okay, before that, I have a little more questions I will ask you guys. So these are some questions trying to attempt to measure. Psychologists love to measure everything. So we are attempting to measure different types of styles or forms of mindfulness or mindlessness, the opposite of, the lack of mindfulness. So I'm just gonna read these items. Do you guys, you can think of yourselves, you can rate your experience from 1 to 5. So if you feel like you've never done this, you've never felt this way, give yourself a 1. If you've rarely done this, give yourself a 2. Sometimes 3, often 4, very often 5. So it's a quantified method of measuring people's day-to-day experiences of mindfulness or mindlessness. So I will just read it. When I walk outside, I am aware of the smells or how the air feels against my face. Rarely, often, very often. So just like rate yourself. When I shower, take a shower, I am aware of how the water is running over my body. All the time, rarely, sometimes. Think about yourself. When someone asks how I'm feeling, I can identify my emotions easily. So your friend asks you, how are you feeling? And I can identify what feelings, emotions I have easily. I am aware of the thoughts I'm having when my mood changes. My mood is changing, and then I can catch what are the thoughts related to those mood changes. So we know the difference of the thought and the mood, duygu durumu, düşünce. When my mood changes, switches from, let's say, pleasant to unpleasant, all of a sudden I feel irritated. I am aware of the thought processes during that change. How are you going now? Any ones or fives?
I have 5 for all of them except the third one.
When someone asks how I'm feeling, I can identify my emotions easily.
No, I can't.
You say 1 or 2 for that?
Probably 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Okay, good. Okay, continuing. Whenever my emotions change, I am conscious of them immediately. Sometimes our emotions change, but we don't notice them until sometime later. Okay, so you're giving yourself the numbers again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm aware of what thoughts are passing through my mind. Most of the time during the day, what thoughts do I have? When talking to other people, I am aware of their facial and body expressions. Facial expressions, body expressions. I notice changes inside my body, like my heart beating faster or my muscles getting tense. Okay. One more. I find it difficult to stay focused on what's happening in the present. Being this absent-mindedness or mind-wandering, right? So you are attending this talk right now, but at the same time you're thinking about what duties I have to do today, what am I going to do tomorrow, what I need to get done, what I'm going to eat this tonight, what preparations, future planning, or thinking about past. So it may be difficult to focus on the moment. I tend to walk quickly to get where I'm going without paying attention to what experience along the way. Koşuşturma. Yani buraya nasıl geldim bilmiyorum. I don't know how I got here. I came. So similar question would be, I drive to places automatically, even though I needed to stop somewhere in between. I come home automatically, and then I realized I needed to stop at the supermarket to get something. Have you ever had that? Automatic pilot experience? Driving? I go to the living room or the kitchen to get something. As soon as I get there, I forgot why I came here. That's happened to me. I turn on Okay, the problem is you forgot what you forgot. So next thing is that I turn on the computer, open the email to email someone about something. Then I get distracted and I forget. I turn off close the computer, and then I remember, like, I was supposed to email this person. That's why I opened the computer in the first place. So it gets lost in the process. We get very often, yeah.
I am that person.
We may get lost in the process. We may get on the automatic pilot. I tend not to notice feelings of physical tension or discomfort until they really grab my opinion. So you have a physical discomfort, it has been going on for some time, you just notice it after some time. Ayakkabı, if your shoe is hurting, you notice it after a while.
Extreme states. She's acting of extreme states from below.
Clenching your teeth, and other people tell you, or then you later notice that, oh, I have been clenching my teeth, doing this automatically. So you go to the dentist and they tell you, like, you've been doing this in your sleep and during the day, so you've damaged your teeth. and this person notices after they do mindfulness that I have been clenching my teeth during the work, stressful work situations, I'm not even aware of that. So tensing parts of our body that we are not aware of. We do this habitually. I get a person's name almost as soon as I've been told it for the first time. Has anyone experienced that? As soon as they told me the name, I rush through activities without being really attentive to them. I've done the dishes in the kitchen, and then after a while, I question, have I done the dishes or not? I shower and then wash my hair and then forget, have I washed my hair or not? Okay, so some automatic activities we may forget after we've done that. I have some other questions, but pretty much you get the gist of it. These questions measure how mindless or on automatic pilot we are during the day. So psychology research shows us that part of our brain has to operate that way. To be more effective and efficient, we have to find shortcuts. If we have to plan, if we had to organize, if we had to think about and plan every little step we are taking, we won't be as efficient as human beings. Part of it is this kind of efficiency idea that our brains habitually doing, but part of it is also, I think, this fast-paced life. We are in Istanbul, we are pressed for time, we want to block some experiences, we don't want to be aware of them, we want to go from point A to point B, and we don't really care about what goes on between A and B, the journey itself. We just want to arrive at the point B because we are used to that, or it's more effective. And the disadvantage to that is that we maybe get more stress when we're trying to do like a million things at the same time, and we're not aware how our bodies, how our minds are being affected by this process. So if you guys are interested and you want to take the rest of this questionnaire and you want to find out your score, what is your mindfulness score, you can go to this online website. It's Berkeley University Science Research Center. It's called greatergood.berkeley.edu. So they have other resources on positive psychology, but you can find this questionnaire and you can complete it and learn your score on this website. Okay, so I think this is a nice summary illustration of where we are right now. Sometimes we are supposed to be in the present moment, but we are not. Your body is present, but your mind is elsewhere because it's wandering. So this automatic pilot, they call it, or mind wandering, as I said, it's part of our evolutionary process because our ancestors, when hunter and gatherer stage, they are going around, so they are looking for survival food. When they are looking for food, they are stimulated, they are looking for stimulation. At the same time, they are running away from threats. So threatening animals and the dangers in the environment. So our brains are specialized, hardwired into this. I'm going to scan the environment for threats. Is there any threat for me? And I'm going to scan the environment for any rewards. Can I eat something? Like, can I find something that is good for me? Okay, so in the modern life, we don't have these. In the modern life, threats are different. Threats could be social disapproval. What does that person think about me? Exclusion. Threats could be what your supervisor or your boss thinks about you. Okay? Am I going to be included in the social group or not? Okay? So with this mind operating in the same way that we may be feeling threatened in these situations as well as we were threatened in the presence of a tiger. Okay? So our brains are the same. They can be activated. They can sense the threat, and they are kind of like operationalized in that. Okay, so my question is then, how much actually are we living our moments and our lives if our brains are operating in this way? Reward, threat, reward, threat. So mindfulness is trying to give an answer to that, and it has become a topic of great interest. I have done just a recent Google search, I typed mindfulness book, not just mindfulness book. I got close to 4 million hits, and then I said, well, maybe it's just Google. I'm going to go online on Amazon and find, do an advanced search for paperback books. For books, it's more than 10,000 results on mindfulness. And in Turkey as well, we started to have a rise of translated books, original books and translated books in this topic. So this is all showing us, this is one of the kind of mainstream approaches in psychology and psychotherapy at this time. When I was a graduate student, it wasn't a mainstream approach. What was mainstream? More cognitive psychology. Behaviorism was more mainstream. Now this is becoming one of the mainstream approaches. Now finally, after 38 minutes, well actually we started a little late, I'm going to give you a definition. I'm going to give you one of the most popular definitions by John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn is one of the founders, the leaders in the field. In 1960s and 70s, he was trained in different approaches in meditation in the East. And he came and he was a graduate student in PhD in biology in MIT, and he started using this. He had an epiphany in one moment. I can use this with other patients. I can teach this to other people who may use it. And then he started running groups, and that's how it started. So he's got a definition. But in the Pali language is one of the Sanskrit languages. The word sati means awareness and remembrance. So the mindfulness English word, and we translate it to Turkish as farkındalık, comes from the Pali word, which is sati. Sati, and there are lots of terms coming from Buddhism, like this: sati, samadhi, vipassana. You can just study those as well. Sati is the word that mindfulness originated from.
But it's not very clear what you mean originated from that. You think it was a direct translation?
Direct translation. Yeah. Translation of sati is mindfulness. And mindfulness is the popular term. But besides sati, there are other words. For example, vipassana means insight. And vipassana is also the technical name for a meditation tradition. So they do the meditation different ways.
In your account, so mindfulness is something coming from that tradition.
Yes. Sati is the word, but these are, there is a... Farkındalık word directly comes from mindfulness. So they didn't go back to the originals and study them in Sanskrit and Pali, but they just translated from English. Fihim in Arabic. Does it mean thinking? I don't think so. But there are several terms like this, and they are similar to each other. Like if you come up with a term in Sanskrit, they have a similar term for it in Japanese. Like Japanese Zen traditions have similar terms as well. I see it as more like in Tasawwuf we have insan-ı kamil. You have steps going to insan-ı kamil, and you can take those steps and find equivalences, synonyms in other religious traditions as well. So it's similar to that. There are some stages, there are some qualities, components, or foundations of mindfulness that are similar in different contemplative practices. So this popular definition goes like this. I'm just going to read it. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So this is one sentence definition, but we're going to go over what actually, what do we mean by this. Paying attention, there's a concentration aspect to it. So concentration is a must in mindfulness. In a way, it's a concentration mind training tool. Okay, I'm going to talk a little more about why concentration is important, why do we lack it, how can we train it. So mindfulness claims that we can train minds to elevate the concentration levels. You can concentrate on this bottle of water, you can concentrate on a flame of a candle, you can concentrate on a mantra, you can repeat the zikr, repeated names or words, you can concentrate on body movements, you can concentrate on the breath itself. It doesn't matter what's the object of concentration, but the concentration itself, the mechanism, the process of concentration is really important. In a particular way, so it's not automatic pilot, it's not random, we have an intention about it, we are trying it. On purpose, as I said, it's not random or we have a purpose. In the present moment, and moment is really important because our lives consist of moments. So if we try to summarize what our lives are, we can just say it's a collection of moments. We are just aware of this one moment. So that's also important focus. And non-judgmentally, non-judgmental aspect is really important as well because we as human beings have judgments, opinions about everything. We have preferences, we have ideas and opinions about everything. Once we have ideas, we get attached to those things. So mindfulness process is also teaching us how much judgment we have. We have so many judgments. It's trying to tell us to be aware of these judgments because it's not completely possible to get rid of these judgments completely because we are to survive on. Judgments are part of our personalities and they have become ourselves. Okay, so for this, before the next step, I have an application. What I would like you to do is, I'm going to pass this, and I would like you to take 2 pieces of this, and just wait. Yes. Take the 2 pieces and put it on your hand. Şöyle elimize alıyoruz 2 tane. Okay, now I would like you, biraz daha hızlı. So put it on your hand. Notice the thoughts you have. Notice expectations, thoughts, body sensations you have. When you have those objects, things, on your hand, place them on your palm. Now look at them as if you have never seen these objects before. You come from a different planet. You've never seen these objects before. Try to look at them and think about, wonder where they come from. What farmer planted them? Who actually harvested them? Who dried them? How they were packaged? How they were transported? Where did they come from? Now they found themselves on your palm. Try to ponder. Try to contemplate on the process that these objects have been through. And try to look at them as if you've never seen them before. Notice the lighting and the texture. You can touch. You can notice the texture. You can smell it. Bring it closer to your nose. Notice the smells, odors that your brain is processing right now. Does it bring you any memories? Do you have any memory associations regarding these objects?
It smells like
As far as texture, touch them with your hand, so you have a tactile sensation to it. When you observe these two objects, do you have a preference? Do you have a favorite one? One of them is more favorite. Do you have a favorite? Look at them. Bakman lazım. When you look at them, do you have a preference for one or the other? Now take them and one of them and bring it closer to your ear. Elinizle böyle ovuşturun. Does it make any noise?
It does. When you roll it, it does.
Okay, now
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah. It sounds like a bag.
Take one piece and bring it closer to your mouth. You can put it in your mouth,
Bismillah.
but don't eat it. Don't eat it. Just feel the sensations when this piece is in your mouth. Do you notice the flavors, the saliva? How it is changing when it's in your mouth? Now you can slowly bite into it. And first you notice the sensations. Keep it in your mouth a little, and then you can bite into it and eat it.
If you hate,
Aren't we supposed to close our eyes to feel the
You hate?
taste?
Okay, now my instructions are all over. Now we're going to go over your experience of it. But Kaan here says already that I cannot eat it because I hate it. So tell us your strong reaction to it. Eat it. So tell us about that.
I don't like the taste of sugar. Maybe you can give the smell.
You don't like the smell of sugar.
Yes, I hate.
So you're noticing that you have a judgment, a reaction in your mind, kind of a generalized reaction. Not only this piece, but in general, I have a reaction, negative reaction, going on in my mind towards the smell of sugar. And you actually smell the sugar?
No.
For example, baklava is.
Buram buram şeker kokuyor.
When I was child, 2 or 3 baklavas was very harmful to me. Headache.
Okay, so memory associations of past memories of negative experiences. What else have you noticed?
I noticed
Hocam, these kind of situations can be solved with cognitive processes.
Just what you noticed, whatever you noticed, yes.
when we had both in our hands, and you said which one was your favorite, and I noticed that I picked the one that looked less imperfect.
Wow.
And
What do you
I
think
was
about
really disturbed with this
Wow.
topic.
So when I teach this non-judgmental idea, this is a perfect opportunity to see this in ourselves. 2 raisins, and then we have a favorite.
I'm sure they both taste the same.
So you already have a preference, right? You discover that in you, that you have this judgment. One is more perfect, one is deficient or imperfect looking. You discover this, you have this judgment. It's a part of being human. We all have this. But discovering this is amazing because we have so much of this, even with just 2 raisins. Well, poor raisin, like it's not a favorite.
But it's really difficult to be non-judgmental because as soon as I took the pochette in my hands, I wanted to put the raisins in my mouth because there was a very good smell and I was like my hunger got activated. So I mean, I know that it's food. So how can I can't look at it as it's a stone in my hand. I don't.
So you know that it's food,
Yeah.
and food means just automatically put it in your mouth. So there's this shortcut habit, right? We don't really process it. We don't really think about where it came from, who cooked this. You know, let's say your mom cooked something really delicious. What goes into that process?
And this is why we're less grateful.
Yeah.
And make me
for the
say
first
this.
time grateful
I
for
put love
this
into this.
amazing.
I put love into this. I put so many. Like when we cook ourselves, we appreciate it because we know what kind of effort, what kind of kitchen disaster or thing happens before we produce that food. So you are noticing that kind of shortcut, reactive, like it's food, I just eat it.
But there is instinctively hunger, for example. If I wasn't hungry, maybe I would have just thought of that more. So maybe there's this.
What's triggered in your so that association is that remembering a thought that I am hungry. There is a thought. Is that a thought?
No, it's an instinct. I think.
Instinct. What else?
I think it's very important what you said at the beginning when we started looking at it. When you said look at it as if you saw it for the first time. So I think in reality, in everyday life, we stopped looking at things. We just take everything for granted and see it as something ordinary, like sıradan. And we have to go back to seeing like the essence of things, not just something that's lost its importance. But anyway, I just got the proof that the I'm not tactile type, I'm not visual. For me, smell was the most important.
Visually, have you noticed? Yeah, have you paid attention to the raisin?
Yes.
Visually, you noticed
Yes,
things.
but what was the most meaningful thing was like smelling and getting the association.
Older parts of our brain are responsible for smelling. So we have scent memory could be longer lasting than other types of memories because it's really meant to help with our survival as well. Burada biri vardı.
When it was my home and you asked what kind of experiences we had, I remember my mom was always saying you eat this kind of sweet things, it helps your brain. And also when we were studying for ÖSS, yeah, that time, so I remember all that kind of memories.
Right. So all Turkish students who are taking the university entrance exam, they are recommended to bring a piece of sweet with them, so it will help with your brain needs that kind of sugar.
Yeah. When I smell it, like I smelled the smell of old books. Like usually they smell that way, so it reminded me of that. But it's a nice smell. Yeah, I like the smell of old books. So when I smell it, really it smells.
It kind of smells like third quality hamur paper, right? Üçüncü hamur kağıt.
Anyone who thought about, have you noticed thoughts about, this is boring, what's going to come out of it, this is stupid?
Not stupid too much, but I found it to be, first of all, it is, you're given too many instructions, I heard. It wasn't like just wandering and feeling, and so that
you needed more time for the instructions.
Not for less instructions.
Less instructions.
More independence, really.
So you thought about the judgment about my instructions.
Yes,
Undeserving instructions for 2 pieces of raisin.
No, he is actually evaluating, judging the teaching. So he has a judgment about teaching style. No, it's not. It's okay. It's okay to just don't.
But that's not what I meant. What I meant was that from my experience, they wanted us to
It's a perfect opportunity for us to see if we can pick a favorite for a raisin. We can have all the other kinds of judgments, especially regarding things that we care about. If we care about teaching, if we care about things, then we're going to have more judgments about it.
Indeed, I just thought just opposite. I kept thinking, wow, how nice she's doing it. one after another. And you ask the right questions, wow.
Okay, so judgments are not only negative, judgments can be positive as well. So we have preferences, positive judgments. So next thing, this is I think a perfect opportunity for us to see these foundational attitudes of the philosophy of mindfulness in our everyday lives. if we can cherish and cultivate these attitudes, then we can actually reach real mindfulness. So John Kabat-Zinn has this list of attitudes. So I'm just gonna say beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is the question, as if you've never seen this. If you notice, I didn't say raisin. So raisin is also a label, right? A name, English word, kuru üzüm. So having a beginner's mind, having this attitude or approach to issues, our daily lives, to questions where we have a beginner's mind. So you already think that you know the answers, you already know what's going on. That's kind of closing the mind, right? To be open, we need to have a beginner's mind. Non-judging, I think I've really made this point clear, like I gave, even then I personally feel that I have several judgments, and in mindfulness, we're not actually trying to eliminate all of the judgments, we're just trying to notice how much judgmental we are towards ourselves, other people around us, things, processes, everything. Acceptance, I think I can give another 2 hours just on acceptance. The technical term here for acceptance is radical acceptance. So when I use this in therapy, especially regarding situations where people find it difficult to integrate, settle, and accept, it's really difficult. I think some of you said letting go and acceptance processes are together, especially when we are faced with situations that we have no control over, losing a loved one, not getting the job we want, a friend being mad at us, we having a disease or illness. Okay, so all of these processes, it's really difficult to come to a point where you can kind of open yourself and you say, I am okay with this. You know, I didn't ask for this, but I can accept it. So this radical acceptance idea is huge, it's very therapeutic, and as a therapist myself, I try to cultivate it, help my clients or patients to how can I use this acceptance idea in my life to let go of things that I cannot change, I cannot have an influence over, I've tried it, I am uncomfortable with it, but I don't see any other solutions to it. And also for change, we need to accept things first in order to be able to change them. So imagine that you take your car to a mechanic and then something is broken, they fix it, you take your car to a drive, and then you just realize they didn't fix it, the problem is still there. You bring it back to the mechanic and say, well, you said you fixed the carburetor, but it still seems to have a problem. And mechanic says, well, I fixed it, it's working. And you say repeatedly, well, it's not working, here is this thing. And the mechanic rejects it. Mechanic doesn't want to validate or agree with you. There is no way mechanic can fix it or change it unless he accepts it first, that there's a problem with the car. Okay? So when we say acceptance, we don't mean that it's opposite of change. We're accepting it passively. There is an active aspect to it, and psychologically, I think it's one of the most difficult things to come to that point. But as I said, it's a huge topic. Letting go, letting be, trust, patience.
What about patience? Why patience is here? What do
patience, I think on this list, when you look at this, as a Turkish person, here, this is the idea that I'm most familiar with. Because growing up, I was never told, well, you have a beginner's mind, be non-judgmental. But I was told to be patient, sabırlı, right? So, but I was never told how to do it. We are pretty familiar with this concept. It makes sense to us. And we have some reactions to it as well. Like, oh, sabır. They always tell me to sabırlı, it doesn't work. Okay? But it's one of the concepts in this list where actually this point A to point B business, if you're rushing through to go to the point B, you're missing the whole journey. So patience means that you have this kind of attentional skills, energy, time, and patience to look at the details in the journey and actually see the whole reality. Otherwise, you're missing out the journey and the reality. Part of the reality is not perceived if you have none of the patience, because we may have difficult uncomfortable reactions, emotions, like our friend said here. I cannot eat it because I hate it. So I'm not going to be able to go through this process of eating. I don't have patience to it if I have this kind of negative reaction to it. Non-striving, gratitude and generosity. Non-striving aspect is that if we have a clear goal in mind, my job, my goal, when I meditate is to relax. I am trying really hard to relax right now. Relax, but why can I not relax? Have you ever had trying to go to sleep? You have something important the next day, and then you have to have a really good sleep, you think. And then you look at the watch, it's like 12, 12:30, 1, you're rolling over on your bed, you're trying to relax, bring in positive thoughts, and then I'm just going to have a shower and then come back. I should be really relaxed. I can't go to... The more I push it, the more I force it, the more paradoxical it gets. We cannot come into a state of sleep forcefully. We cannot force ourselves to sleep. We have to, at one point, relax it, don't care about it. To let go, to be able to enter into the sleep mode, state. So it's like that. When we're striving about, I'm going to strive to be enlightened. I'm striving a lot. I'm trying really hard to relax right now. It's really not going to work that way. So non-striving aspect, to be okay with the process. Okay, I have intentions, I have good ideas about it, but I'm not going to make it really hard. Çok da zorlamayın. The Turkish summary of it. Gratitude and generosity came later with the positive psychology, and research finds that gratitude, I can talk another hour just on gratitude and generosity. Research finds that if you wanna intervention to increase people's levels of subjective well-being, which is happiness, you give them an exercise. You say, every day I want you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Şükrettiğin, elhamdülillah dediğin 3 şeyi düşün. Every day you need to come up with 3 different things that you're grateful for, grateful about. People who have written this for 2 weeks every day, they had significantly higher levels of happiness compared to the control group. Our brains don't know the difference. When we ask our brains to remember that you have good health, loved ones, a good job, you are good at biking, you enjoy sports, you have this opportunity, you are grateful for this, brain starts to think automatically, well, if I have these things, I should be happy. If I have these things that I'm grateful about, automatically I'm going to be happy. Okay, brains don't know this trick. So by remembering what we have, what we are grateful about, it could be anything, doesn't matter. I have a cat, I have I bought myself a new computer, it doesn't matter. But remembering these things makes us more happy. Okay, so going back to mindfulness. I'm aware of the time now. I'm going... Perfect. Okay. Because I want to have time for another application. We're going to do another application, and I'm really curious about your experience of this application when I give you instructions as well. Ceviz getirsek diyor ya. Turkish people always think about eating, and eating is just this facilitator of like social. Okay. So, any questions so far? This is just a really short beginning. The idea I haven't. Okay. So, mindfulness-based intervention. There are several of them. So, the story of it starts with the first guy here. Do I have his name? No. The first number 1 is mindfulness-based stress reduction. John Kabat-Zinn is the name. You can look him up. He has talks on YouTube as well. I met him. He gives talks all the time. He's the celebrity in the field. He's got books and talks on this. As I said, he was as a student, graduate student, he was meditating, and he's the first one who thought, well, what if I find a shortened version of this, like a pill, and then I teach these people without the religious aspect of it. I don't use any terms like sati, samadhi, vipassana, Zen, and then I just make it a secular thing and teach it people. Would it help people? And he extremely believed in it. He wholeheartedly believed in it. I'm sure because this whole thing started with him in 1970s. He established this clinic called Mindfulness Clinic for Pain Patients, so medical patients. Think of patients with migraine, headaches, psoriasis, sedef hastalığı, fibromyalgia, cancer patients with pain, lots of nausea and pain. So he would bring them in, do a group for 8 weeks, and then he would see extreme results, wonderful results. For example, one of the first research in the field in 1960s, 70s, they did it with psoriasis patients. Psoriasis patients, sedef hastalığı, they react to stress. When they're under stress, you get more of these patches. So he had two groups. First group, they listened to 10 minutes of meditation, mindfulness cassettes. The second group, control group, listened to the music. And at the end of a couple of weeks, they wrote down and then measured their psoriasis. And the meditation group, the first group, just only 10 minutes of meditation was significantly better than the control group. So take this research design and multiply it. You can have millions, and we actually have millions of studies, thousands of studies like this in the field right now. Not just psoriasis physically, but neuroimaging studies, brain studies, fMRI studies that shows the positive effects of meditation. The second one with this mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, now they thought, well, okay, medical patients, pain patients, if it works with them, maybe it will work with psychotherapy patients, psychopathology. When I say psychopathology, there's depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There are more than 300 categories in our books. So they started to adapt this to depressive patients. So they bring them together, people who report symptoms of depression, significant, I am suicidal, I am so depressed. Okay? At the end of 8 weeks, their depression is better than medication. So their depression scores are affected by medication. When compared to medication's effect, they have better effects. So I have this percentages here. In a 2-year trial, that means after you give them the medication or therapy, you measure them after 2 years. Do they have the effects? Does it relapse? Do they still have the positive effects? 44% of them relapsed back to depression. 47% of them relapsed when they were on pills, when they completed the pill treatment. So that means mindfulness therapy had better effect. Less people relapsed. Relapse meaning nüksetmek. You have the depression. Depression is one of the most relapsing diseases, illnesses. I think after substance abuse. Substance abuse, you have a better period, remission, and then you relapse again, relapse again. Depression is like that. So mindfulness is better than medications to prevent relapse. Okay, when you look at the percentages. Without the relapse, if you just look at the 6 months results, they are the same. So taking a pill, doing the meditation has the same effect on our brain. So which one do you think people will choose? Which one do you think will have longer effects? Because medication don't change our brains, but meditation will change our brains. So we have longer lasting effects. So I have different types of therapies here. I'm trained in DBT, dialectical behavior therapy as well, but not just psychopathology. Think of everyday life, everyday people. When I type mindfulness interventions on Google Scholar, they have done studies on everybody, including midwives, ebeler, including children hyperactivity, okay, teaching children to train their attention, to business leaders, CEOs, to life coaches, to marital relationships, couples being mindful of their relationship. Okay, so we have a gold mine here. Önder Hoca getting excited, right? we are on to something here. I'm gonna skip this. This is just an example of how does MBSR program. One example, one formal teaching or formal way of teaching mindfulness is MBSR. For this, if you are asking for a recommendation for a book, I can just give you this one. The one on the left, the blue one, it says Farkındalık. You can just buy this book. It's well written, translated nicely. Mark Williams is one of the leaders in the field. In a very understandable Turkish, it teaches you 8-week program. Week 1, okay, read this and do this. And it has a CD on the back. Put the CD on and then do the application there. I can also recommend an app. You can find the English version of the same book as well. So this is an app called Headspace.
We're always taught the more effort we put in, the more we'll get out of life. But of course this isn't always true. Take falling asleep for example. You can prepare in the right way, put yourself in the right position, and get yourself comfortable. But after that, well, you can't force it to happen, right? In fact, it works exactly the other way around. The harder you try, the less sleepy you become. It's only when we stop trying that we finally let go and drift off. And before we know it, we're waking up the next morning feeling refreshed, relaxed, after a good night's sleep. It's a very similar story when we're training the mind. I think a nice metaphor for this is the idea of taming a wild horse. If you look at how a wild horse is tamed, rather than pinning it down in one place, the horse is led out on a very long rope and put in a big open spacious field. The horse runs around feeling like it's got all the space in the world. But very slowly, the rope's pulled in, and the horse adjusts to this feeling until it comes to a natural place of rest. And we're looking to do just the same thing with the mind in meditation. Not trying to pin it down in one place, but bringing it to a natural place of rest. So let go of any idea of needing to achieve something or get somewhere, and instead enjoy the opportunity to sit back, relax, and be present in the world.
So this is an app you can download, and there are 18 million downloaders of this app. This isn't my favorite because I had already started using another app, which is called Insight Timer. But I downloaded it and studied a little. It's really good for new beginners, people who just wanna practice this, and they have guided meditations when you're just starting. They have animations like this. Some of the animations are watched millions of times, and then I'm going to show you one of them because I liked how they find the complete way.
Meditation will feel easy. Imagine you're walking down a street. It's a street you know well, maybe one you walk down every single day. But you're so caught up in your own thinking, wondering what you're going to have for lunch, thinking back to a conversation you had earlier, that you end up falling down a hole. Now at the bottom of this hole, you find yourself thinking, how did I end up here? Worse yet, the next day, you do the exact same thing. And then again, the next day. It may not sound like an especially cheerful idea, but as an analogy for the mind, it's really helpful. Because so often, we follow the same habits of mind over and over again. And so we find ourselves in an emotional hole, maybe even a place that's really painful. But imagine if you started just noticing, being more aware of your surroundings. Sure, maybe next time you'd realise a little too late and you'd still end up in the hole again. But maybe the time after that, you'd notice the hole and choose to walk around it instead. This is what it means to train the mind.
So
this is what it means to have headspace.
So what this does is like similar to Mark Williams' book that I recommended, tries to find a way to make these ideas, abstract ideas, concrete for people, like being non-judgmental, having those habits of mind where if, let's say, you have an anger problem, and then every time that you feel like you are disrespected, you go through the same emotional reaction to it. And then this causes problems in your personal relationships, work relationships, and you say to yourself, like, it happens every time, I don't know how to stop it. And then this whole idea, I think, is a good analogy for that. Like, there's this automaticity to it, automatically happening. It's really fast. You feel like you have no control. You have a difficult time going back to your baseline, which is the pleasant state. So how can I actually catch these steps in my mind? How can I train my mind? How can I regulate my emotions better so I don't get mad at people like the way like that automatically I used to get before. So that whole idea I think is a nice way of illustrating that. So I also recommend that app. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a little about the treatment applications, then we'll have an activity. Does it work? Treatment application. As I said, there are thousands of articles and scientific research on it. Some of the scientific research isn't as strictly done. It's not as like gold standard. They haven't done it really well, but they are trying to like devise better studies now. But what we have evidence in psychology, science, evidence means that if you control it, if you have a randomized control trial, can you tell this intervention is effective than other control groups? So we have a design for that which is really complicated, and not all studies adhere to this standard, gold standard. But we have a lot of research showing that it's effective with chronic pain, fibromyalgia, psoriasis, general medical symptoms, cancer, pain, hypertension, immune system, the number of people who get colds and flu. It also reduces stress, anxiety, depression, prevention of depression, relapse, as I said, drug and alcohol dependence. Also memory, it improves your memory, reaction times faster, and regular meditators are happier than non-meditators. So it's, I think, huge. If you have none of these clinical problems, I have no medical problems, I have no psychological problems, then can mindfulness offer something? Yes, it elevates your levels of happiness as well. So the question is, how does it do it? In psychology we call it mechanisms. Why? Like how? What is the mechanism that it does it? So this is a table, and there are 4 mechanisms that I will talk about 3 of them, because we don't have much time, but 3 of the mechanisms are this. 1, concentration, attention regulation. 2, body awareness, sensor clarity. 3, emotion regulation. So research shows us that mindfulness doesn't work magically. Mindfulness works because it increases these mediator. There is a mediation effect, aracı etkisi. Because it increases concentration, because it increases body awareness, sensory clarity, because it gives you emotional regulation skills, then that's why you have a result. Okay, these are the mechanisms. Concentration. Have you ever taken a course on concentration? How did you learn to concentrate? University entrance exam forced us to concentrate because we had to solve 100 questions, multiple choice questions a day.
Pray after praying.
Praying teaches you to concentrate.
Yeah.
Because if you don't concentrate, then you forget what prayer, how many rekat are you in, right? Have I done 2 or 3? So you concentrate on that. So attention regulation or concentration, the technical word for this is samadhi. So during my 10-day retreat, I attend Vipassana tradition. So there are different types of traditions in the med. You can do it differently, as I said. You can look at an object and concentrate. You can look at a flame to concentrate. You can say a mantra, zikir, to concentrate. It doesn't matter. The practice that I'm in, for 10 days, there is no talking, there is no cell phones, there is no books, there is no eye contact, there is no touching. So the whole purpose is for you to work on yourself. How can I work on my internal life? How can I have an internal look inside my psyche, inside my psychology, whatever you call it. So in order to process, help you facilitate that, they all have these organizations where you can be part of this retreat. So the first 3 days of retreat, they asked us meditate to concentrate on the sensations on your upper lip, this area, upper lip. So if I ask you guys, do you have any sensations? Do you notice any sensations on your upper lip right now? There's tingling, cold, hot, batma, relaxation. Do you get any now? Without moving it. Yani hareket ettirirsem, if I move it, of course I get. But without moving it, can you sense? I find out at the end of my 3 days, I am hard trying and trying, well, there's supposed to be no trying. I thought it was like, I'm just going to relax and I'm feeling really relaxed and then it will come to me. It didn't. So every day the teacher asks us, so how are you doing? Do you have any sensations? So apparently it turns out that there are sensations in our body all the time. Electrical activity, heart beating, blood, everything. We just don't notice it. So they are asking us to concentrate on it and catch it. So at the end of 2.5 days, I was actually, yes, I got this, burada bir böyle tingling, like I got this thing here, uyuşma gibi. I was really happy. So we can actually train our minds, if we concentrate on it really well, then to notice this kind of tingling sensation I'm getting on my upper lip. Why did they choose the upper lip? They may have chosen the breath as well. So some traditions do the breath. So now focus on your breathing. You are going to notice the sensations of the air coming in your nose, going out, your belly going up and down, your diaphragm is going up and down, or you notice your breathing is really shallow. Aynı nefes alamıyorum, like you are kind of nervous, anxious, stressed out. You are not able to breathe slowly. It doesn't energize you because you're short for breath. Okay? You are noticing these things easily. I think breath is a little easier than upper lip. But then I noticed I am trying to control my breathing. Am I breathing right? Am I breathing relaxed? How is my breathing right now? So there is also that thought interference on breathing, and then you can actually regulate it, control it as well. So they chose the upper lip, I think, that you have no control over it. You cannot consciously take a deep breath. Like you can consciously take a deep breath, but you cannot have the sensations from upper lip.
Maybe it's, I wrote one of the cats and the dogs are using their upper lips for taking the smell far away or memorize the smells. They are using upper lips, taking the breath through the upper lip and find the memory.
Animals, cats and dogs, when we see them, and little children, babies, when we see them, we have a smile, right? It makes us smile. The reason for that is that they are more present. They don't have the past or the future. Because when we see a living being, an organism in the moment, in the present, we remember that, how it feels to be in the moment. When you go to a new place as a tourist, it's like really happy. Like I'm noticing, how interesting this place is, how beautiful it is. Because it's a new place, you're noticing it, and it makes you happy. The novelty is makes us remember that. It reminds us that. And also children and animals and pets, because they are in the moment, in the present, the worries and the thoughts, when we see that present awareness, that makes us smile, that makes us happy. But I don't know about the lip part.
It's something like about amygdala. Amygdala is working just with this.
I will come to amygdala, exactly. Let's do this, because I am almost over time. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to do the exercise, and after the exercise, if you have questions about these mechanisms, because I have other slides, then I can do question answer, because I want to be able to do the exercise first. Okay, how's that? Okay, so in the exercise, I will give you instructions, and we're going to exercise these ideas of a formal practice of mindfulness. So a lot of the mindfulness ideas are day-to-day life. Like you don't have to close your eyes, concentrate on your breathing. But this formal practice helps you practice it. It's like sport. If you go to the gym and lift weights, what does it do? Lifting weights, what does it do to your muscles? If you lift weights for like 3 months, Feyzullah, how would you look like? How would you look differently?
I would look like a girl.
So if you lift weights for 3 months and then your muscles, if you exercise the muscles, then they get bigger and bigger and you can use them easily. If you do something every day, then your muscles, the part of your brain that's responsible for it, attention, regulation, sensory clarity, it will grow. And research actually shows us that our brains change. Even the gray matter, gray matter, which is responsible for intelligence, is increased in the brains of meditators. So it's the same analogy, that's the point of practicing it every day. So in this practice, I will just guide you, a 5-10 minutes practice. What I would like you to do is sit comfortably in your chairs. You can close your eyes or you can open your eyes and lower your gaze. It's recommended that you close your eyes for more better concentration first time. Sit comfortably. Now, taking a deep breath first. And just take a moment to settle in your chairs. Notice how sitting on your chair feels. Just take a moment to settle in. Sit comfortably, but on an upright position. Put your head, neck, and your spine into alignment. Not stiff, but alert. Put your feet on the ground, both feet. Your hands on your laps. Now allow your shoulders to release. Drop in your shoulders. And relaxing your facial muscles. Relaxing your face, especially your eyes, muscles around your eyes. We use it all the time for expressions, for thinking and talking. Be aware of the muscles between your eyes, on your forehead, around your eyes. Just release them, just relax them. Relax your jaw. Sometimes we carry a lot of stress on our jaws as well. Overall, scan your head and release any tensions that you notice. Try to notice the pleasant sensations related to relaxing. If you're in a resting state, you have some bodily sensations that are pleasant. Starting from your head, gently going down, you actually notice and enjoy how it feels to relax. Just looking at your body now, feeling the weight of your body pressing down the seat. Noticing the sensations where your body is in contact with the chair. The weight of your body, how the chair feels, how you're pressing down. Put your attention on those sensations. Again, continuing to relax, letting it go, being in the moment, settling in this moment. Now, slowly bring your awareness, concentration on your breath. Without changing it, without forcing it, without making it different, can you just watch in your mind's eye how you breathe? How the air goes in through your nostrils. When you breathe in and out, how your body is moving. Your belly might be going up and down. Your diaphragm is expanding. It doesn't matter. However you most vividly experience it, try to put your attention on that. Just watch it. Breath coming in, breath going out. Rest your attention where you most vividly feel it. Focus our attention on something else. Let the breathing fade into the background and put your attention on the outside sounds. What kind of sounds do you hear? What's the texture, volume, pitch of the sounds around you? Sounds in the background, some subtle sounds, continuous sounds. Separate sounds. Now, I will ask you to bring your attention again to your inside world. In your mind's eye right now, I would like you to watch your thoughts. Your thoughts could present either in the form of a picture, image, or a sound, internal mental talk. For example, internal mental talk could be food. I'm hungry. Try to watch if you have any thoughts in these forms. How do they come to you? Either in a visual form, a sound form, an image. Try to watch them like clouds in the sky. Clouds come and go. They are moving. Don't change. Don't try to stop them. Just note. When you notice the thoughts, just note the thoughts. So you are just an observer. Your job is to just sit down, relax, and watch. Now, we will come to the breathing again. Breathing can be an anchor for us to come back to. So notice the sensations around your breathing. Can you catch the sensations? Can you rest your attention on your breathing? How does the breath feel at this moment? Your mind may wander. It's okay. Mental talk might arise. Just gently bring it back to the breath. Without judging, not being harsh, slowly and gently. When you notice it, bring it back to your breath. Now, we will expand our attention back to our bodies. The rest of your body. Scan it from head to toe. Do you get any sensations? How are they? Tingling, pulsing, feeling, pressing, heavy weight, cold, hot. You can have many sensations. Which ones are prominent to you? The bottom of your feet, how your feet feels in your shoes, the way that your hands feel from inside out. You can feel your hands from inside out. How warm they are. the tension on your back or your shoulders. Just notice them. Just observing, just watching, just catching it in the moment. Now, slowly and gradually, when you're ready, you can open your eyes and continue this mindfulness practice for the rest of the day in your awareness. Okay, how was it? Some of you are very relaxed. What did you guys observe, notice? Yes?
There was a pain on my right arm, but I didn't really realize that until now. Like when I was sitting, like I felt, okay, my arm is it.
So you noticed the sensations of pain. How was the pain? What was it like?
It wasn't very severe, but yeah, it was painful.
At what part exactly?
This part.
This part. Upper arm?
Yeah. And then I started to massage it.
During the meditation?
Yeah.
No, okay. No. So that's a no-no. So, being an observer, when we actually observe our pain, we will notice that we have resistance to it. We have judgments about it. When we have resistance, thoughts and judgments, it's multiplied. Why do I feel this way? Like, it's really difficult to relate to our own pain as human beings. When our bodies have pain, it's difficult to relate to it, have a relationship with it. So what we want to do is reduce it, get rid of it, deny it, find the answer to it, change it, right? Mindfulness teaches us that, no, first you need to observe it. Equanimity, this term, teaches us that we have a neutral, have a neutral relationship to pain. But I'll talk more about that. Anyways, it's very common that people notice it. This is the shoe idea or jaw idea with my patients. That you notice it after a while, that you have some sort of ache or pain. Has anyone else noticed it?
Yeah.
Any pain or ache
yeah,
where?
Too much pressure.
Too much pressure on your right jaw? Right part? So, have you noticed it before during boring talks or stressful situations?
No.
You do that? Any other habitual behavior, biting or tensing at some, have you guys noticed any like that?
I noticed that you assume that your shoulders are relaxed, but then when you said relax your shoulders, I just, wow. But I realized that they were really tense.
So what you noticed? How tense your shoulders were.
Yeah.
So you didn't have the awareness of the tenseness in your shoulders until you checked in with yourself. Checking it with yourself, even without my guidance or someone else's guidance, can you now do it yourself on your own?
And the facial expressions. The facial expressions on the eyes. I noticed that they're always tense.
When I gave you the instruction, you noticed it?
Yeah, but then when I relaxed it, like, I fell asleep. I mean, that. I don't know.
Did you sleep during the exercise?
Yeah, I fell asleep several times. And I woke up with your instructions.
It's okay. Yes, sometimes letting that go.
But I don't kind of, maybe it has to be done when a person is not sleeping, maybe. Because then you cannot concentrate on it.
Okay, so body posture is important in that. If you're like slouching or laying down, then it's easier to get sleep because our bodies know biological clock or rhythm. You lay down and you're about to sleep. It's easier to sleep when you're laying down.
So the head was really heavy and I wanted to.
Body posture, when I say it's alert, elevated, it's not stiff. So I sit on the cushion on the floor. So sitting on the cushion, I find a way where my body supports itself. So like I put a cushion under my button, so it supports me. But in a way, I'm very alert and concentrated. So mindfulness teaches us relaxation, but we are alert at the same time. Maybe you had a long day and.
But I'm very surprised that we're doing this in this academic place setting. Like you would do such a practice, an exercise in a course for meditation.
During the exercise, you had to stop.
I have some meditation courses, and we sit down cross-legged. You have to take off your shoes. Your back has to be erect against a wall if you can't hold it up yourself. And it's a guided meditation what you were doing, but I'm just surprised we're doing it here. It's amazing.
Okay, so you had a thought or a comment related to our experience here itself. Have you had any thoughts?
I just kept wanting to grab my pen. I had thoughts coming to my mind that I wanted to write down, and I'm thinking, don't think. And then you would give another instruction, and I was still trying to hold on to the words that I had in my mind. And now they're gone, and I'm really upset, actually. I'm sitting here trying to find them.
Words in a sound way? Talk, like mental talk?
Yeah, like, I don't know how to explain, like words, I write, I write, I don't want to say, whatever, I write. And so as we were going through the exercise, I have this impulse to write, which I often have throughout the day. I hear things or I feel things and I just jot them down. But the purpose of this was to not, to focus on what we were doing and focus on our breath, and you were giving us instructions. And I was just fighting this urge to do what I felt I needed to do, which is very distracting.
How did you notice the urge? It's like this, I need to type.
Yeah, or I have my pen here. My hands twitched actually.
Urge is like this, like do it.
Yes, I mean, my hands actually twitched. And then I felt the tension, like stop it, just focus.
You do this too, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah, too.
We are like habits. We have those habits, like that automatic pilot. Has anyone had thoughts during the exercise? Raise your hand if you had a thought, one thought,
of course,
or more during the exercise. Everybody has that. We just notice how much they are. So when I first started doing this, it was incredible. It's like if you put a little sugar here and ants will come to it. I was going crazy. I was thinking about my primary school teacher. I had thoughts about people that I never thought in the last 10 years. I'm thinking about some plans and ideas and opinions. I think my type, the anxious type, my anxiety is tied to those thoughts. So those thoughts increase my anxiety, and then they're functional in a way because I get things done at the same time. But I never notice until I sit down to meditate how much I have no control over them. There are so many of them, thousands of them. They present in the forms of images, pictures. I have a picture from an earlier thing. I have sounds telling me of food, or like a conversation I'm replaying in my head again and again, right?
You're supposed to suppress them?
We're not supposed to suppress them. So I'm just, right now we're observing them.
You are hearing or just thinking?
I'm just, when I meditate, I hear them. So, exactly, hear it. Yeah. So thought, when I say thought, when I ask you, okay, so I have a thought, I need to write it down, you said. There are several steps to it, right? Recognize the thought. It could be in a form of a picture, image. Let's say, image of a room, image of this room. I can have a thought about that. I have a sound, I have it in this form of a sound, mental talk. Blah, blah, blah, blah. You should have done that. You should have done this. Or plan. You could do this. Or a concept like meditation. I actually hear it. So people do it in different ways, but what we say thought, if you pay attention to it, you will discover it. It will come in these two forms as well.
As you hear, you also see some other stuff.
Oh, both. You will discover it too, everybody does it. Once you actually put the spotlight on it, you can see it. Okay? So, you all have had thoughts. Were they frequent? Did they interfere with the instructions? How?
Well, I had a strange thought about whether what you did was a raisin or sultan.
Good one. Okay. So, carry on. Something you experience carries on with you. I have that a lot.
Well, that's what it's
Sultana?
Yeah. Raisin tercihsi. Raisin miydi yoksa sultana mı? Çünkü o raisin değil.
Okay. So you noticed the thought. Were you able to go back to the instruction?
Yeah, you mentioned.
Sometimes we engage in this thought for 15 minutes before we notice it.
Our friend was talking about astral traveling. He was trying.
I don't know what that means.
Yani we are traveling yani under like kind of sleeping and living.
Can you say it louder?
Yani you are like not sleeping but sleeping. We are traveling yani. I don't know actually, but this is related.
Well, I traveled to primary school teachers. Well, one day she said, I would have never expected this from you, so that left a scar. Bunu senden beklemezdim. Type of comment. So being a good student. I don't know if that's traveling, yeah, to my past.
Your past, huh?
Yeah. Well,
what kind of
so that thought comes to me. I don't know where it comes from.
Then you observe or you just feel?
I'm observing. I noticed that I have this memory. So I remember this memory, like you said, your mom said that. We have memories, we have associations, we have thoughts.
Yeah,
we have
outside or from inside looking?
Inside, from my inside. So in meditation, we're all trying to look our inside world. So you notice you had thought regarding that. You caught it, and then you went back to the instructions. Sometimes it takes us a long time before we catch it. Sometimes we don't want to let the thought go. We want to think it. Sometimes it's really difficult to let it go, so I can focus on the breathing or something else. You don't want to.
So what's the ideal situation in meditation? Is it to avoid all these eventually?
Okay.
Like you control them? What's the clear way, or you let flow and then they just
Okay, great. So I think this is a really important point. So what are we trying to do? In the beginning, I gave instructions regarding relaxation. So it's consciously, I want you to drop your shoulders, relax your facial muscles. So relaxation, some relaxation is needed in the beginning. Because relaxation is needed for concentration. If you are very anxious, an accident happened outside, so you're trying to call the police. Someone comes to you, asks you a mathematical question. Can you do it? Can you answer the question? No. So some type of bodily relaxation is needed in the beginning to start the exercise. After that, okay, now you relax relatively, not sleepy, okay? Then your job is to bring an awareness, observing capacity, gözlemleyen benlik, okay? Observing capacity takes one step, and then you're just watching what's going on. When you watch, this thought came, sultana or razor, kuruzu. Then what you do is, I notice the thought, I note it. Note means like noting it. Okay, I realize I noticed the thought. Sometimes people can also do label it. Label, etiketlemek. Labels work for some people, they may not work for other people. I recommend you try it. Label would be something like this. Düşünce. Using a mental talk, you can say to yourself silently, düşünce. So this means I identify it. I notice it. So you're actually noticing it, and identify it and labeling it gives us satisfaction. It gives you some reward, like I caught it actually, okay? Now, after you notice it, you may have a judgment towards it. I'm trying so hard to meditate, why can I not meditate? This is such a good idea. I should get up now and type it. You will have an urge to it. Sometimes I did that. I forgot to do the dishes, now I'm going to get up and do the dishes, right? In the long run, it doesn't work though. In the long run, what we are trying to do is train the mind not to do it. Train the mind to be comfortable with that urge or discomfort. Something inside you is urging you. Now get out and do this. Or urging you to block that thing. You have a sad memory. Your mind is saying don't think about it, push it away. So in mindfulness, you're not pushing it away. You're not suppressing it. You're just like watching it. Like this thought is coming and going. It's really difficult to explain it, but there are steps to it. You need to experientially do it. So another problem I had being an anxious person, when I sit without doing anything, you're not doing anything. You're just like watching it. It made me impatient and it made me uncomfortable. İç huzursuzluğu ve sıkıntı. So this discomfort, so you may think meditation is wonderful, it's giving me a bliss, wonderful. No, it's a laborious task. It's like working out. So I'm getting really distressed. I'm like, oh, when is this going to be over? I can't stand it. How many minutes has it been? Has it been 30 minutes? 40 minutes? I don't know. It's like, has it been an hour yet? And it turns out it's only been 10 minutes or something. So with training, it trained me to be more relaxed with uncomfortable feelings coming inside me. And it trained my amygdala, somebody said amygdala, not to react. So research shows that with meditation, amygdala cannot react as fast as before. Amygdala is our threat response, fear response. So its reaction is dampened or slowed down. Okay, so I think we need to wrap up. Any other comments or observations before we wrap it up? Questions?
This is something, I have a friend who is visiting over the weekend, and she's actually just left to go to South Africa to do a Vipassana 10-day retreat. She does this as well. And she grew up as a Muslim, but she was always telling me like, you know, Islam doesn't have any sense of this mindfulness and this and that. And I thought that's so interesting, because I think so many people in the West, they're returning to these Eastern philosophies and methodologies. Even like we're seeing the positivist, sciences are trying to understand it and imbibe these practices that, I don't know, like why don't we look in our own, like for example, how do I say this? For us as students of the Institute, like I think it's an interesting idea to like explore, like Fatima, you're so interested in many of these questions, like to explore them within the context of, Islamic civilization as well. So Western civilization doesn't really have a concept, so we're bringing in the idea of satya and samadhi from Eastern, Hindu and Buddhist traditions. But like Tariq said, there's, muraqaba in Islamic Sufi traditions as well.
There are some articles on that, finding those.
Very interesting.
I think what's missing is that John Kabat-Zinn. We need someone like him. So what he did was take that and bring it into a format where Americans were able to accept it. So if you can find a similar thing in Islam, where I find it's like putting in a bottle. Like think of it like as a fountain. This whole 2,000 years of tradition, rituals, philosophy behind it. He puts it in a bottle where people can drink, and like you saw the animation. So when you explain it to people like that, it makes sense and they can do it. So Islamic traditions, I think they have the same things.
That's what I was saying, just in terms of like us as students to keep this in mind. Like this is exactly what's happening. You see ideas from other traditions and civilizations being brought into the framework of the social and positive sciences. So I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of space to work.
Yes.
I object because I think the message of tasawwuf here is to obtain marifa, and you can practice meditation and be very mindful of yourself, but the highest point you can go is being a mindful donkey if you don't know Allah. So a lot of people, like all these sadhus, all these gurus, they can walk on fire, they can attain such a state, but what does it lead to? Like if it gives them some like benefits for this world, okay, it's fine. No one would have a problem with that. But what Islam wants to attain, especially through tasawwuf, is this very like this real knowledge of God that you wouldn't be able to probably impart to an audience of a TED talk or something like that, because okay, they like I met in America people who claim to be Sufis without entering Islam. They say like we do zikr, it's very good, and they become mindful. It enhances their self-awareness, their awareness, their situational awareness, and all these things. But what does it actually secure at the end of the day? Like it's just maybe like some like hobby. It's like a trapping to your stressful life to lower your level of stress. But if people listen to like our own John Cabot as an audience, okay, they may start to do zikr, but unless they understand it and unless they submit themselves to the God they are praising and they are remembering, then it has practically no value.
So everybody's playing zikr on their car radios and they get into this, but you're saying it has to have the purpose of knowing Allah.
Yeah, of course.
Experiencing Allah.
Otherwise it can only like lower your stress levels, whatever, but it wouldn't really bring you like the true happiness in life and also in the afterlife.
Right. But then I would say, in order to really know Allah, you need to know yourself.
That's what I said at the very beginning too. Yeah.
So without really that goes through actually your own experience and reality. In order to really know Allah, that marifet, knowledge comes through you. So you really need to know yourself. So this is a way of practice of helping you how to know yourself.
Help, yeah, only to a
and also
to a
to
place.
respond to like many people will be searching for many things, but they'll only find what's available. So if we don't see these ideas that have been transferred from one tradition to another, and put into the bottle, like you said, so people can access it. If we don't create the frameworks that incorporate our understandings and our knowledge, then we do a disservice to the people, to what we're trying to do as students.
I think if there was an app like this, the biggest criticisms would come from Muslims. They would criticize it.
Of course,
they would say, this is wrong, you're not doing blah blah blah, this is not perfect, blah blah. So I think we're not open to new developments or approaches, even though they could be helpful to people. We are the biggest critiques.